Welcome back. Today I'm pretty excited. I'm going to be installing the MAXPower Pro ECM into the ABARTH. I had this in my previous ABARTH and loved it. They don't talk about how much horsepower gains you get. They say about 20% on torque and horsepower, but the miles per mile category definitely gives a big boost. So today I'll walk through installing this and show you how it's done. All right, start by removing both, loosening both 10 millimeter nuts on both terminals. And then you can go ahead and remove the terminals. That one and that one, and then down here, down in this area, you need to remove this bolt as well, and then you can take the battery out. Once you remove the battery, then there are three more 13 millimeter bolts that you need to remove. There's a nut down here, and then these two bolts here, and then we can work on getting the battery tray out. With the bolts out of the way, next thing you'll want to do is remove these guys, which is pretty easy. Just unclick and they come right out. The next step I'm going to do is go ahead and take the air box off, and I'll walk you through that. So to remove the air box, you simply need to remove these three screws. They're retained into the box itself. You'll unclip that from there so that you can get this out. And then this just pivots out. You can see the three tabs across the back. This will lift up and pivot out. So to get to this state, what you'll need to do is pry this off the air box. Disconnect this piece from the airbox, which is held on with that clamp, and then disconnect this hose from the airbox as well, and that's on this side. Once you get it to this point, you can just kind of set it off to the side, because all the clips that we need to get a hold of now are exposed and we're ready to go. So here's your wiring harness that we're going to install. You'll notice that they're labeled A, B, and C, and each have a male-female plug. Basically, we're going to take the sensor information that it's sending from this one, send it back to the computer, and then send another signal back using this one. A is going to be our boost pressure sensor, B is the manifold air pressure sensor, and C is the camshaft sensor. And I'll show you where those are under the hood. So when you lay this out, A is down here. That's your boost pressure sensor. Your cam sensor is kind of hidden down in here. And then your manifold air pressure sensor is back over there. If you see where I kind of have it laid out over there in that corner, you'll see the plugs in each place that you need to pull out and replace, and just kind of do a male-female swap for it. So this is the plug from down here. Be sure to slide this lock piece out. When you unplug it from this, plug it into the new harness, lock it back in place, and then plug the new harness into the receptacle here until it clicks. And this is for A. Again, I will go back and zip tie some of this up just to make sure everything's all clean and safe. The last one here is the trickiest, because it's the hardest to see. There we go. And that's your cam position sensor. We'll want to take the final plug, which again is this guy here. Make sure that he plugs into there, and then this one goes back onto the sensor. Once you have all the sensors plugged in, it's a reversal basically of let's clean this up, and then we put the air box back on, the battery tray back in, plug in the MAXPower unit, and decide where it's going to go. Okay, so just to show you where I have them, I'll clip these off because I like to keep my things clean, but I went ahead and zip tied the original plug back to the new wiring harness. I attached here as well. Coming over in this area, I gathered the extra wires that will be behind the battery box. I may change this just shortly, but we'll see when I do it. And then I also went ahead and zip tied down here the OEM plug to the new plug, so that that's where it wants to go. So I'm going to zip tie it there to keep it nice and clean out of the way. So I don't want these guys falling and getting hit or ripped off. Once I have everything tightened up, I'll come in here and cut these extra pieces off so it keeps it nice and clean. Okay, so I have the battery box back in. Just of note how these things went. This was underneath. You have your negative on this side. This one's over here. We have one more connection to make, and that's our positive that we're going to attach to the positive terminal. When you're installing the battery box, be sure that your positive cable goes in this top. There's a pin, there's a clip right here that maintains the position of your cable. Down below, don't forget there's a gray one. This one was the toughest one to get out. You have two connectors here on the side that you can see, the two pins that you push in. And then again, this one up front is probably the easiest one to see and get in. And just make sure you get those all put back in so that you have a nice clean installation. I have, since I did this before, I have where the power module box is going to live is probably right here on the fuse panel for me, just because that's where it makes the most sense, and it's away from all of the heat and such that's generated over here on this side of the engine. But once you get back to this position, then it's a matter of putting the air box back in, and then we can go to the next step. After you've gone ahead and got the battery installed back in, one of the last things to do, or at least the next step, is to go ahead and insert this blade. So loosen up this bolt and put this underneath and tighten it down, and then we have one final connection. Alright, so you've made it to this point. The final piece of this puzzle is to go ahead and plug this all back in, or plug it in, and that locks in. I'm going to get some Velcro and attach it down here. So as you can see, this is a fairly clean installation. You don't see much of anything. Everything is nice and tidy and tucked away. One of the things that they do say is that it takes about 80 miles for this to optimize to your car. So you'll notice an immediate improvement right away, but after about 80 miles, it will be married up and everything will be as it's going to be while you have this plugged in. So I hope you enjoy this one as much as I do. Thanks again for watching.